launched this in August last year, and I remember quite a number of pressmen and women were there. And this is supposed to be an automated, and it is an automated equipment that is supposed to send a signal, a kind of warning to communities that your area is a flood-prone area. The idea is that if you cannot run away with your property, you can at least escape with your life. I am glad to inform Nigerians that the states you see here have participated and that we have already installed these early warning systems across. Actually, some of the states that had floodings were warned before the floods came. And we have records to show evidence and testimony that these have worked and they're still working. So this, again, is another issue in the transformation agenda of this administration. We did look at some degraded sites. And again, here we are talking about oil spillage. If you look up, you see the certification of some impacted sites that have been carried out. For every plus, there usually is a minus. We try as hard as possible to reduce the minuses. Nigeria is an oil-producing country. It will have oil spills. Nigeria has a large population. It will have a lot of pollution. Nigeria has vagaries of vegetation. It will have a lot of degraded sites. But then what is Nigeria doing about it? So like I said, what is the Ministry of Environment doing about it? We're creating harder pods that will connect the interrelationships between our ministries. If we go to the next slide, you will look at what happened in the last couple of months. I do know that the press will want to say something about Congo oil spill, which occurred in 2011, which is out there for us. I'm glad to tell you that we successfully cleared through Shell the pollutants, cleaned up the environment. Of course, thank you. The Shell fire, the president, in his characteristic manner of paying attention to the needs and yearnings of Nigerians, flew along with the ministers of petroleum and environment to ascertain for himself the Chevron fire. This burned for a very long time. Another president. Why? Reason being that it was safer for us from the Ministry of Environment for the fire to burn out technically than for it to be put out. Because if it was put out, it would have created more health hazards to the people around. This again is the responsibility that we shoulder to ensure clean and healthy environments for people around. We were asked, why is this fire still burning and how long is it going to burn? But it was left to burn out, like I said, because as professionals, the ministry through our agency, the National Oil Spill, felt by the empirical findings, it was easier and healthier to allow it burn. This again has been a challenge that this administration has been facing and standing up to. We have this slide showing you a continuation of the management. Look at the enormity of tasks ahead of this ministry. Look at the slide on the left-hand side. That is supposed to be an area where human beings would farm. Professor, I don't know what the Minister of Agri will do if we don't do something about clearing sites like this across the country. You find a lot of this in the Niger Delta and in other areas where we have processes like this going on. Degradation of the land from oil, degradation of oil spills, and degradation of the land from desertification and flooding. the transformation agenda has been in the area of waste management. Waste management. I was looking around to find out if I could see pieces of papers, and I can see a lot of them in front of me. And I do know that one or two people will drop the paper in that spread, and I'm wondering how many people would ask themselves what and where they're going to put that polythene that the bread was stuffed in. Waste management, a major challenge for Nigerians, a major challenge for the transformation agenda. For those of you who drive on the highways, we see places like Tafa. In most countries, even sugarcane peels are used and recycled to produce a lot of valuable items. The Federal Ministry of Environment is working very hard to ensure that we have resource recovery through the recycling of wastes. I'm not sure we have the right slide. Sure. In this regard, we have established a waste recycling plant and a recovery facility in Buhari. You can see the items there. And I must say at this point that the federal government partners with states, because the states are on the ground. So usually we do have to have land and other partnership roles played by the states. We have also established a prototype gas phase reduction plant for organic pollutants in Mina. There's also an ozone technology village in Ikene, Ogun State, among others. But let me reiterate again that the major challenge to the average Nigerian in terms of environment is the effective management of wastes. When you look around, it will amaze you, as the Honorable Minister of Information has said, it will amaze you the extent to which the Ministry of Environment can create jobs for Nigerians. Imagine employing women, young men and women to clean our roads and our streets. Imagine getting people to work on our highways to ensure that we have a clean environment. Imagine a situation where we have an integrated waste management plant that will take care of all the solid waste, all the papers that we throw, and all the polythene bags that litter our towns and cities. We have started a pilot scheme on the distribution of waste bins to households. We started in Edo Ekiti, and we also have a composition site plant in Ilogun, also in Edo Ekiti. Why are we calling it a pilot project? We are calling it a pilot project because the Federal Ministry of Environment can provide the dustbins, keep them there. But when they are filled, somebody somewhere has to be responsible for the evacuation. And if they are evacuated, someone somewhere also has to be responsible for taking them to the dump sites, identify the dump sites, and putting them there. In this regard, we are working very closely with state governments to ensure, as the Constitution provides, that every local government identifies a dump site. There must be a site where people will take out their debris and take it to. Over the last couple of months, we have seen how people have had to clean their drainages only when the rain approaches. And as the drainages are cleaned and the debris is put on the side of the road, there is no one to evacuate it. So consequently, the rains come and they are washed back, so it's the same vicious circle. The Federal Ministry of Environment is working to ensure that this does not happen. We have an environmental health practice guideline and guides already we have with us here the Registrar of the Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria. We have registered 336 qualified health officers, and we are working with states to ensure that this is brought back. If this would be the only way that we have to go to ensure that we have a sanitized environment, we are ready to do it so that we can transform the nation to a clean country. We have 287 corporate environmental health service providers already registered in the last 1 year. We also have continuing education for them. And like I said, we are even upgrading it to a level beyond what it used to be. In those days, people were seen as just wale as if they were just an extra. I want to say to all Nigerians and to the distinguished men and women here, that environment is more than an extra. You can create as best a hospital as you can all over the world. The environment has to be enabling for you to operate. You can have the best farm equipment and utensils or whatever, equipment or machinery. The environment has to be created for you to be able to operate. When we build roads, highways, if there are no shoulders, no barrels, no drainages, this again will amount to nothing. So the environment is really more than an extra. Let me quickly wrap up by saying that climate change is a reality. It is a very serious phenomenon. We have upgraded the units in charge of climate change to a department. Nigeria won a seat on the Governing Council of WASCAL, which is an African body that comprises of 10 countries, that is in charge of climate change and supported by the German government. We have courses going on in Vietnam for undergraduate students and doctorates in Akure. We also have, as part of our achievements, very effective participation in global functions and outings. There is also a program that we call RED, Reducing Emission through of Drought and Desertification. It's a program of the United Nations. And I'm glad to tell you that although we started a little bit late, Nigeria is the leading country in Africa. And last year, we won a grant of $4 million for our performance. We also have a carbon footprint program that we have organized in the Forest Department of the Ministry. We have what you see. These are, you may see this as, okay, these are programs. But for every activity or objective, a program has to be started. We have to connect the dots in between. In the last couple of weeks, we have had publications in the newspapers about the National Environmental Standards Protection Regulations Enforcement Agency and the National Communications Commission about base stations. The federal government cannot carry out a transformation agenda without a compliance with laid out rules and regulations. We have guidelines that are not enforceable. We have regulations which we can enforce, and then we have laws that are higher than the regulations. One of the statutory responsibilities of the ministry is to ensure compliance. Let me seize this opportunity to inform all of you that President Goodluck Jonathan has agreed and directed that Ministerial, which is our agency, should enforce all laws on the use of the environment. Therefore, you will be seeing a very, very pronounced change in the manner Nigerians are allowed to do anything they like with the environment. Last year, we banned the use of two-stroke engines because we want to protect the atmospheric condition of Nigeria. Nobody uses two-stroke engines, machines, in any part of the world. We cannot allow, like the Minister of Agriculture has said, other countries to produce whatever they like. When they run out of these products, they bring them to Nigeria and dump them. And we buy them because we think it is cheap. We buy cars that cannot be used in Kenya or any other country because they have passed their service years, and we use them and we pollute the environment. The Ministry of Environment will not tolerate that. We will be working, and we are working with the Federal Road Safety, the Nigerian Police, and we will be making a very significant pronouncement on the use of the environment. Again, e-waste is another area. In the last 1 year, we have had court litigation, court cases. We have had to take people to court because they have violated the rules governing the use of the environment. This is one country where you have shiploads of e-waste, old computers that are supposed to be in dump sites somewhere, brought into the country and dumped by the other ports. And every day we have these things coming in for people to open and to use the copper wires inside. If we go to some of our markets in Lagos and other parts, you will understand what I'm talking about. These have enormous health implications. Again, we have taken, I do not think it is appropriate to put the names of companies or people that have been taken to court for violating these regulations. But I assure you there are quite a number, and that Nigeria is not going to tolerate that again. I've been asked to move, but I did say that environment is not an extra. Honorable Ministers, please give me 2 more minutes to wrap up. I want all of us to look at the current environmental situation in the country. Please, could I have that slide? I just have 2 more minutes. The status of the Nigerian economy. Look at that. Look at what we're going through. Drought and desertification. You see the erosion sites. Look at what the geographical expression called the North has turned into. People are compelled to move. There's hardly sufficient water. Sorry, Sarah. We do not have enough land for agriculture. Minister of Agriculture. And so environment needs to work together with these 2 ministries to ensure an enabling environment for Nigerians to survive. If all of us continue to move, the center can no longer hold. Things will fall apart. Erosion, people coming out. Desertification, people coming down. What are we going to do about it? The transformation agenda is moving. The train is moving to ensure that the coastal areas of southern Nigeria are really taken care of. That we have the floodplains of major rivers properly rehabilitated, and that we have these flat, low-lying urban areas well laid out. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, may I crave the indulgence of all of you in this room, state governments, local governments, NGOs, organizations, and every one of us. The director of UNEP, a 40-year-old United Nations organization, said successes have been achieved in creating institutions. The 3 of us here, the ministers, 4 represent institutions that have been created. Laws have been drawn. We have more than enough in Nigeria. Conventions have been signed. There are more than enough here in this country. But the balance sheet of results leaves much to be desired. We came on board and we found the need to transform a system that everyone should participate in. I urge all of you to join us in pursuing the principles of good environmental governance for the protection and sustainable use of our natural resources and for the well-being of our people in line with the transformation agenda of the present administration. And our quest to attain the goals of Vision 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'll be doing a great disservice to the men and women here if I do not recognize the roles so far played by men and women of the media. Aisha Bello of NTA, Alex of Daily Trust, Salama to AIT, engaged. These are our environment-based correspondents. Paul Obi, Willet, Dorothy, Raji Musa, and Nena Akoropo, and so many others that I have not called. Together, not only the Ministry of Environment, I did say we are a connecting facility. We are a ministry that is supposed to connect the dots to make sure that the train is well coupled, the transformation train. Please work with us and make Nigeria a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a seasoned administrator and educationist on environmentalist. So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together for Hajia And one other thing I would say, it appears that the ministry has a lot of women in various sectors.